everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So, April Fools yesterday had a lot of surprises, and one of them actually ended up being a real surprise, apparently, which I was definitely in doubt of at first. Let's jump into it now. Deadpool trading card is apparently an actual card, and yeah, just for everyone out there, Proxy Promise will be in the works on this one as well. That being said, let's break down this incredibly unique, actually legal commander. It's a 5/3 legendary creature mutant mercenary hero for 4 mana in Rakdos. As it enters, you may exchange his text box in another creature's. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 3 life, and by paying 3 and sacrificing this creature, each other player draws a card. Okay, when it comes to, again, a card that you might just look at first and be like, alright, this looks like it was made by Custom Magic. No. This is actually a real card that is going to be real legal, and you could definitely make it in a very annoying way. It is, well, it's a commander where you definitely can, but you don't necessarily even have to build around, your own creatures that you're trying to stamp onto this one. That's probably not what most people are going to do, and obviously there's a downside to that as well. You can utilize the upside, and there's certain creatures I'll point out here, of giving the actual text box to Deadpool, because if it's your commander, there's certain things that you can do with it that it benefits you for doing that. You also have the downside of, I'm going to start losing life on my upkeep. 3 life isn't nothing. And then also, if I actually end up wanting to sacrifice this creature by paying mana into it, my other opponents draw a card. Though, obviously, if you're building around that, you can be the one to utilize other effects to sacrifice. That being said, this is a commander that can be quite obnoxious. Very on point for Deadpool, obviously. But being able to essentially say, okay, you've got your commander in play that your entire deck is built around. Awesome. I'm going to shut your commander down. Not really like even shutting your commander down, but I'm going to turn it into a deterrent for you to actually even have it in play. You've got your commander in play. Again, let's say it's, Atraxa. All right. You've got Atraxa in play. All of a sudden, I'm like, you know what? Let's swap text boxes. I'm going to have this come into play. We swap text boxes. Also, out of my Deadpool's got keyword soup as well as proliferate, which I maybe don't even care about. But then you've got, essentially, again, lose life and also pay 3 to, sacrifice it to make everyone else draw a card. So, make the pain stop. Yeah, basically, you kind of shut down a commander. They're kind of forced to get rid of that commander again, either that way or in another way, to then basically get their commander back out by paying extra command tax and then, redoing it. And then you probably have ways, of course, to use and abuse this, which I will talk about here in a little bit. So it kind of is a commander that you can build around in a way just to kind of be obnoxious like Deadpool. You're just like, all right, let's have that swap text again. All right, have that swap text again. Have that swap text again. Have that swap text again. You can do some absolutely crazy things with this, and rules lawyers out there are going to have to be on the lookout because, this one's going to get a bit complex. Let's jump into first up a reference card, and then some cards that work really well with this brand new commander. Now, when it comes to somewhat similar cards to Deadpool, we really don't have many at all. I mean, this is a very, very strange concept to switch text boxes. And a quick note, when it comes to a text box, it just means the actual text box itself. It does not mean like power toughness. It does not mean creature type. It does not mean anything else. It just means literally the text of the card. So again, for Deadpool, it's, enters, exchange text box. At the beginning of upkeep, lose 3 life, pay 3, sacrifice creature, each player draws a card. It's that. I don't know if the actual flavor text would matter or not. I don't think it would, but maybe that switches too. Anyways, when it comes to actual rules for it, I think that's actually might be mentioned. Exchange of words is one of the only things out there that actually is a legal card. I kind of forgot this one was legal, but that does a similar thing. An enchantment for 3 mana in blue. Enters, choose target creatures. For as long as exchange of words remains on the battlefield, exchange the text box of those creatures. This one, again, is one of those surprising cards for Infinity that did not have the acorn symbol, meaning it is a legal card in Eternal formats. So, when it comes to actual words and precedent, the precedent is kind of set with this one, though, again, Deadpool is the very first, commander that has it, and also just creature that is self-exchanging text boxes. So there you go. Things get quite confusing, but I'm sure that if you're the Deadpool player, you probably have printed out just a bunch of like little text boxes of Deadpool, and you're going to be utilizing those to just pass them out ever so generously when you are swapping with other players' creatures. So there you go. When it comes to precedent being set in certain rules, exchange of words is what you're going to want to look at. Now, when it comes to this commander, though, the very first thing I thought of is, well, using and abusing that ETB, because when Deadpool were to leave, it kind of gets reset, basically, right? Deadpool goes away, Deadpool comes back, it's considered a brand new Deadpool. It does not remember any of the things about the old Deadpool, so, again, if it exchanges a text box, it doesn't care. Again, if it has a Traxxas text box, it doesn't matter. You blink it with something like Conjurer's Closet, an artifact for 5, which is somehow now budget-friendly. My goodness, I remember this was like $6. Beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, return that card to the battlefield under your control. So by bringing Deadpool back, you then can, of course, well, get the ETB again, exchange text boxes with something else. So what you're kind of trying to do with this commander in this kind of a strategy is to basically just spread the good word about Deadpool and give everyone Deadpool's text box. Because again, when you do that, you essentially shut down every other creature in play that you really want to shut down. Again, most notably probably your opponent's commanders who they've built their decks around. So you shut those creatures down by taking away their text box, giving it to Deadpool. It's really nice when it's a very good one. You might not even care what it is, though, if you keep just blinking it, because you're just getting rid of that again and again and again. But you are giving your opponents the lovely text box that makes them lose 3 life on their upkeep, as well as the ability to actually sacrifice that, though we will talk about a way to maybe even stop your opponents from doing that. So yeah, there's only so many blink effects. Thank goodness they didn't put Deadpool in Azorius colors, which wouldn't make really all that much sense, number one. Number two, yeah, Deadpool's costume colors are Rakdos, so that makes sense. But yeah, there's only so many blink effects, so luckily Conjurer's Closet is one of the only repeatable ones in this color combination, though of course you do have plenty of tutors to go get it. You are in black. Next up, though, another type of way to go about this is something like Feign Death. There are plenty of Feign Death type effects in black. We basically keep getting kind of the same one, like copy-pasted and maybe slight adjustments made, but an instant for a single black mana. Until end of turn, target creature gains, when this creature dies, turn to the battlefield, tap turn its control, they counter on it. You probably don't really care about that counter. All you literally care about is any of these Feign Death type effects. Hey, if you die, Deadpool, come right back into play. Because again, when Deadpool leaves, forgets old Deadpool, is brand new Deadpool that has, again, the original text box with that original ETB swapping its text box. Things are getting complex in Magic, most definitely. But yeah, Feign Death type effects, there are plenty of them. I mean, there's like 10 plus just off the top of my head. You can just utilize these, again, in every which way of sorts to essentially, again, just kind of utilize it as like a black ETB use and abuse effect, essentially. So yeah, there's plenty of ways. Obviously, you need Deadpool to die, which you might just be able to do by being like, oh yeah, swing at an opponent. And they're like, Deadpool's annoying, but they probably won't fall for that. That being said, Village Rites, Viserys here, I mean, obviously Viserys here comes like a free sacrifice out that's repeatable, but yeah, like Village Rites type cards, of course, are abundant in black as well. Instant for a single black mana, just cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. So being able to essentially, again, turn Deadpool into card advantage, and then use and abuse a Feign Death type effect to get an ETB, yeah, that's definitely another way to go about it. So again, blink type effects and, leave, come back type effects, those are certain things you're going to want to look for because they can easily, again, just change out opponents' creatures' text boxes, their key creatures, saying, you know what, your deck works around, again, this creature, this very specific creature that does a lot of things for you. All of a sudden, Ishin, no, you don't have that text box anymore. You've got Deadpool's text box. You don't double up attack triggers. All you do is lose your controller life. So there you go. Now, if you want to get even more mean, well, maybe keep your opponents from actually sacrificing those creatures. Now, again, there is kind of an upside for you. An opponent does sacrifice the actual creature with the ability that Deadpool gives them. Again, pay 3, sacrifice it. Each of their opponents draws a card. If you just want them to wallow in their misery, though, Cursed Totem, card like this, artifact for 2. Activated abilities of creatures can't be activated. So again, this does not affect ETBs. It's not activated ability, so Deadpool can still swap out those things. The only thing it does impact on Deadpool's card, which again, you are giving away the text box anyways, is that, hey, pay 3, sacrifice this creature, each opponent draws a card. It gives that player the out to get rid of that creature that is just kind of sitting around and potentially losing them life. Now, obviously, opponents can go about things in different ways. They can make deals with each other to like, okay, if I attack you, will you block with this so we get this taken care of? Kind of like the, like Lignified type things, although Lignified not exactly a good example of that. But yeah, when you like shut down a creature, Darksteel Mutation style, outside of the indestructibility on that one, again, opponents making deals to be like, oh, maybe Frogify or whatever those ones are is a better example. Making deals to say, hey, let's swing at each other so that we take out our creatures so that we can replay them, basically, when it comes to commanders. That being said, they might not have that option, or they might not have anyone who's working with them, so if they can't activate the ability, they might not be able to sacrifice that creature, and they just keep losing 3 life on every single turn. So this could be an avenue for you. It also just shuts down activated abilities creatures, which can be a powerful thing as well. And if you're already going for kind of an obnoxious, annoying kind of deck with Deadpool, this can be another way to go about it. Damping Matrix, yet another one. Artifact for 3. Activated abilities of artifacts and creatures can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So yeah, this shuts down a lot of things, and again, obviously, the Deadpool thing is not a mana ability. When it says mana ability, some people get a bit confused on that. That means more so like mana dorks, like things that tap for mana, or obviously when it comes to artifacts as well, mana rocks. Not necessarily things that, say, oh, okay, pay 3 to do this. That's not a mana ability. That's just an ability that costs mana. There's a difference. So, shutting down your opponents from actually sacrificing those creatures, yeah, that can be definitely a pretty brutal way to say, you know what? You not only get Deadpool's ability on your commander, but also it now permanently has that until you find another way to get rid of your own commander, which you might not have for quite a while or ever throughout the game. So yeah, it's a way to kind of permanently shut something down and also make it so they are losing that life again and again and again. Now, obviously, again, like I mentioned before, swapping the text box does not swap power and toughness or whatever, so they still have their power and toughness, which they might be a threat, but they might not. And again, everyone might, of their opponents might agree that, yeah, you know what, that, commander that's very, very powerful against, say, Ishin, we're fine with it just being a 3 power, 3 toughness creature. I think that's what Ishin is. And, yeah, no one's going to block it to take it out for you. So now it's just something that stays in play, cannot be sacrificed in that normal means, and also just keeps losing that player life. So, Ishin player, sorry. It just is what it is. No one's going to make a deal with you. When it comes to other ways to take advantage of Deadpool, doubling things up can definitely be one of them. Wound Reflection, nearly a card within the $2 mark that I usually like to use on these episodes, but it's close enough that I decided to actually reference it. Enchant for 6 mana in black. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life, equal to life they lost this turn. Yeah, I mean, this is just a good way to essentially say, hey, you know what, opponents, you're already losing 3 life each upkeep, with Deadpool text box in play under your control, basically. So all of a sudden now, let's double that up. Let's make that more. And of course, this doubles up all other life loss they're going to be having anyways. But yeah, being able to say, hey, instead of being 3, now it's 6, especially if you got ways again to shut those creatures down, to not allow them to sacrifice them, or maybe you're just further encouraging them to sacrifice those creatures to force opponents to draw cards as well, or give opponents cards, their opponents cards, I should say. But yeah, being able to double that up can obviously be a very powerful thing. Speaking of double things up, though, Flame Shadow Conjuring, something like this, or Molten Echoes, which got pretty expensive now. Yeah, those are things that you can definitely take advantage of, ways to double up, Deadpool when it's coming into play. Enchant for 4 mana. Non-token creature is battlefield under control. You can pay a red. If you do put a token in the battlefield, let's copy that creature. Token in haste. Exile begin next end step. Rules layers out there help me, but I believe, again, you still would get that. I think you still get the text box switch, even with the legendary rule coming into effect. I could be completely wrong on that, but if that is the case, please let me know. But yeah, being able to, again, hypothetically, if this works out in that way, say, okay, I've got 2 Deadpools coming into play. Again, they're brand new. The ETBs happen, and all of a sudden they swap text boxes, and essentially I'm just getting rid of an opponent's creature's text box and swapping it out with Deadpool's, getting an extra one. Again, this might not work. Rules lawyers out there, please let me know, but I think it does, actually. I think the ETB would still go off, and you'd still be able to swap out that text box, even though Deadpool legendary rule would apply. Next up, not that you necessarily have to actually build around, again, swapping your own creature's text boxes, but you definitely can, or you can just include certain cards in there that aren't really taking up a spot really that much, like a Plague Mirror. It's a mana dork, 1/1 mirror for 2, it has Infect, taps for 1. One that you could just swap out with Deadpool's text box and actually turn Deadpool into, a 2-shot KO with that Infect. And of course, if you got any kind of a double strike effect, a 1-shot KO. So it could just be like a surprise, like, yeah, and Deadpool loves surprises, obviously. But a surprise, like, hey, okay, most of this deck is built around me giving away this text box. This could be a, oh, let's finish off the game. Let's, take my opponents out of their misery. Swap this text box with Deadpool, and all of a sudden I've got Infect on Deadpool, which again is a 5-power creature. Halfway there. Also, Deadpool can tap for mana. Fun. But yeah, being able to essentially say it's a 5-hit Infect, and if I've got Double Strike on it, it can get there as well. Another one that always comes to mind for some reason, just when it comes to this kind of a thing, is something like Immolating Soul Eater, a 1/1 Hound for 2 mana. By paying Phyrexian Red, +1/+0 until end of turn. Obviously, it would take quite a bit of life to pay to get Deadpool to a one-shot KO from that 5 power, but you can do it. You definitely can do it. So being able to kind of use Phyrexian, fire breathing, I guess what you would call this, and being able to make Deadpool a one-shot KO on anyone, you could do that. You definitely could do that. It would cost you, let's see, 16 times 2, 32 life, I think, right there to get it there. But you could. There we go. It's kind of like a half as effective hatred, but there you go. There's some really weird things you can do with this one. That being said, I think most people, when they're building around this commander, will be built around more so giving away the text box, then swapping with their own. But I'm sure there's going to be some swapping with your own shenanigans too. So again, overall, an incredibly unique commander, maybe one of the most unique commanders out there, and something that, again, maybe looked like initially, and still to me does, looks kind of like a custom card, but it is legal. And again, we actually have seen, again, the Exchange of Words card previously that kind of forgot about in Infinity. But yeah, that one was not acornized. It did not have the acorn on it, I guess you would call it. And because of that, it is a legal card. So again, there is a precedent for this type of thing, but this is the very first time we're ever seeing this on a creature that swaps its own text box, and also, of course, on a commander. So yeah, if you are building around this commander, again, things to keep in mind: blinking, feign death type effects, maybe ways to shut down opponents from even sacrificing those things, ways to potentially double it up. There's a lot of crazy things you do this, and I'm excited to see what players do with it as well. And of course, certain creatures out there that might benefit you from swapping their own text box with this one too. But yeah, it's one of those commanders that might be a bit hard to kind of game plan for what your opponents are doing, because yeah, there's definitely going to be times where you swap a text box with an opponent's creature, and it's like, oh, okay, this is the best thing ever. This is a very, 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 very powerful, I gotta keep saying commander, but it could be whatever creature out there. It could be a very powerful text box to have on your own commander that you swapped into. So yeah, you could be like, all right, now I'm just going to be doing this for a while, essentially, because Deadpool's got an amazing text box. So yeah, it is definitely something that I am, wary of at the table, because this is going to be, it can be quite obnoxious and quite powerful in the right circumstance. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. As always, comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.